Good evening, and welcome to the July 8th Board of Aldermen meeting in Town and Country. I now call this meeting to order, and before I ask you to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, we have one special guest here tonight, Courtney Wu, who is, we hear a lot of stories about, we have a lot of troubled youth and kids getting in trouble. If the country produces a few more Courtneys, the country's in good shape. She'll be a senior at John Burroughs. She's an outstanding student, basically a concert pianist, state champ in tennis, and those are just a few of her accomplishments. So we're very thrilled to have her with us. She spent the day with me. That was a great day for myself. Hopefully not too boring for Courtney. And I would ask us to stand and let Courtney begin to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. I hope everyone had a good report. I would ask the city clerk to call roll for attendance.
Alderman Allen.
Here.
Alderman Harder.
Here.
Alderman Hughes.
Here.
Alderman Kinsella.
Here.
Alderman Murphy.
Here.
Alderman Schwer.
Here.
And Alderman Steinhubel. Mayor Ream is presiding, and we do have a quorum. I have Alderman Weezahan as absent.
Thank you very much. Seek a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the June 24th meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any citizens asked to speak?
No, sir.
Okay, and there's no public hearings, no appointments. Before I get to the board's opportunity to provide reports, I do want to take 1 minute to say a couple words about Dick Palmer. He recently passed, and it's funny, since I've been mayor, I've had numerous correspondence from his wife, Mariette Palmer, who I think probably includes most of the board, I think, on her emails. And her husband, Dick, or as she called him, Dickie, passed recently in his upper 80s. And if you read the notes that Mr. Shelton attached in terms of from the book about the city of Town and Country, this gentleman was very instrumental in the fact that Town and Country turned out in such a great way. There was a push to more or less industrialize Town and Country in a sense. And he fought back hard, and I was most impressed about the fact that I think Alderman Allen could relate to this. It's sometimes hard to raise money, and he was trying to raise funds to fight this, and he was having very much difficulty. And so he took out a second mortgage of his own house, and he paid for the legal fees himself. And it's because of his diligence. He was never an alderman, he was never a mayor, but his diligence and his perseverance in trying to keep this community the type of community it is, I thought it should be recognized. So I just wanted to call out attention to his passing. Now, I will recognize the board's opportunity to provide any reports if they wish. Alderman Allen.
Thank you, Mayor. If I could just comment on Mr. Palmer.
Sure.
He was a veteran,
Okay.
and Mariette told me one time they'd been in Hawaii, and he was very proud, and over the years, he frequently, they attended events honoring veterans. That's always really great to see. So I would like to go ahead and comment that our Ways and Means Commission met June 28th. Ms. Jadali will share tonight the audit report prepared by Clifton Larson Allen LLP, which was discussed in great detail with the commissioners and the staff. The report content acknowledges the high level of accountability Town and Country demonstrates with respect to our financial and staffing resources. Also, with the recent city property tax in place, we're able to move forward with the facilities review and infrastructure needs. So it all fit together great discussion.
Well, great. I said before, I was always gratified that when I first became mayor, was basically we're finishing up the state audit. And the state audit said, you have a very well-run city. And I was more than happy to be able to tell that face-to-face to Elliot Davis. That we didn't have anything to try to cover up. And I still remember asking the state auditor, how come we got good and not superior? And she said, by definition, when we're called, you don't get superior. So you got the highest grade that we give. So I think that's and Mr. Dolly's guidance were very well run, fiscally run city for sure. Michelle, do you have a report?
Just one quick item, Mayor. As Michael Zeltman has informed us, we discussed at the last meeting, St. Louis County plans to begin the Mason Road resurfacing next Monday. So we expect lane closures and potential permanent closures of that section of Mason Road. I understand maybe they have a sign up now today indicating the same. So just so everybody's aware, avoid that section of Mason between Clayton and I-64.
Just for clarity, is Mason Ridge going to be impacted by that closure, or is the closure just south of Mason Ridge?
I believe it's just south of Mason Ridge.
Okay, so there's going to be a lot of additional traffic that comes southbound on Mason. It's going to use Mason Ridge.
Potentially detouring through Mason Ridge, potentially, yes.
That's busy.
Sir, the detour will route non-locals away from Mason Ridge.
Oh, it will?
The detour will route non-locals over the outer road down to Clayton.
Oh, okay.
So locals, of course, will still use Mason Ridge, but the detour purposely avoids routing traffic over Mason Ridge. But those who know their way around will still use it.
Yeah, I was going to say, anyone who's going to try to go down to Clayton and make a right, they're likely going to use Mason Ridge, are they not?
Right, but the detour should route them before they get to Mason Ridge.
I still think Mason Ridge is going to be a busy street.
I can refer to a short period.
Short, right.
Thank you.
And I got ahead of myself, Alderman Hughes. I apologize for that.
I just wanted to make it a quick announcement. The next meeting of the Architecture Review Board is set for Monday, August the 5th at 5:30 here at the Municipal Center in Aldermen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now, Mr. Dolly, you have a brief audit presentation.
Good evening, everyone. So yes, I will be very brief tonight. I won't take the time that our audit partner did at the Ways and Means Commission meeting took, but I think it was a lot of very valuable information that he provided. He would have been here this evening, but he is out of the country, so he was not able to do that. When he went over the financials, he went over the three main sections of it, which is the introductory section, the financial section, and the statistical section, and he explained each of those in detail. I'll just tell you that the statistical section provides a lot of helpful information. It's not audited by them, but it's a lot of things that I put together. It's 10-year trends of various information that is sometimes very helpful. And that's also something, if the city ever chose to go out for debt issues, that's one more item that they like to have that's not required otherwise when you're putting together financials. For this audit, as all the audits that I am aware of the City of Town and Country having, we've always received an unmodified opinion, which is the cleanest audit opinion. And there's information in the audit letter regarding what the details are regarding that clean opinion. It's on page 1 of the independent auditor's report. Each year it seems like this report keeps getting thicker and thicker, and it's because we have more and more pronouncements that we have to perform. The Governmental Accounting Standards Board is what provides those pronouncements for us governmental entities. If you ever hear of FASB, that's the Federal Accounting Standards Board, and so that's a separate entity. They're not who we have to follow, but a lot of their pronouncements are very similar to GASB's. So last year we had to record leases. We didn't have to do that in the past. This year we had to record things called subscription-based IT arrangements. So things that were software where you have over a 12-month period that you have relationships with those entities. We had to record those this time around, but thankfully it was of such a small amount of money that we didn't actually have to go through the whole process of recording and putting them in our financials. What I would suggest is, I don't think anybody is going to be thrilled to read this whole document, but if there is something that you want to read the management discussion and analysis. It's just 10 pages of information. There are tables in there that provide some helpful information about the city's financials as well. But as a reminder as well, on every month I send you monthly financials. Particularly the quarterly financials will help you because basically I'm repeating some of the same things that I've repeated over and over in those financials because we don't have a lot of activity. A lot of it's the same thing that I just told you a few times. So if you see it, you're like, oh yeah, she said that last time. So just so you know. In the MD&A, which is the management discussion and analysis, it references an increase in the fund balance of all governmental funds of $3.7 million from the prior year. Almost all of that is the ARPA money in the general fund portion. And the reason that I did the ARPA fund this year or for 2023, even though we received the money in 2021 and 2022, was because we didn't spend it yet. And if you don't have it spent and allocated, et cetera, you just have it on the revenue side, but you don't have anything on the expenditure side, you can't recognize it. I have to book it as unearned revenue until we actually can say that we spent it. And so we had budgeted to spend it on the contract with West County EMS and Fire Protection District. However, because it was such a large amount of money and it was over $750,000, we also had to do something called a single audit this year. So it was even more of an audit than we typically do any other year. So there's one thing that the auditors do, and they provide something called a management letter or internal control observations, because they always want to make recommendations for improvement, which I do appreciate and welcome. One of the first one that they mentioned was that they said our check numbers had gaps, and that they are recommending that we identify these gaps. Well, it's actually not the check numbers, it was certain receipt numbers. And there's a problem where if you avoid a receipt, sometimes it doesn't always show up in my report. So, but every month I check this, double check this, triple check this, because it was something that the Missouri State Auditor's Office recommended that I do. And so on a monthly basis, I go through all the receipts and make sure that that's all accounted for. So I will continue the same process as next year. I followed up with the software company, the accounting software company that we work with called Tyler ERP 10, and they said, we don't know why the software is missing the receipt numbers. On occasion, it doesn't happen all the time, it's just a rare circumstance. So there's nothing more that I can do with regard to that one. The second item, they said, ensure that property tax receivables include property tax payments received in April and May. So the property tax is the road and bridge tax. This is not something that we particularly had calculated. It was St. Louis County. And I had no knowledge of this large amount of unearned money until May of 2024. It was May 21st. So our auditors send something out called confirmation letters. So they basically want certain entities to say that whatever I'm saying that we received is accurate. And all of a sudden they send this letter back and say, no, it's not. This is the amount of unearned revenue. Now, in no year was it any amount. It was like $2,000 every other year. So I'm researching this right now because I had no way of knowing this. So the auditors were the ones who saw it and then said, oh, by the way, well, sorry, but, so we made the adjustment after the fact, but it was, it's not usually something that I do is miss revenue, so. That happened, but in any event, it is corrected for the financials, so there is no issue there with that item. And then finally, the third item is that they indicated that I should ensure that accounts payable is capturing all invoices related to the fiscal year. And what we do is, so at the beginning of 2024, we just look, and when we receive invoices, we make sure that we charge the right ones to 2023 and the others to the new fiscal year. There was one that I had in the wrong year. So, I'll do better. I'll try to be perfect, but I'm not sure I can, but I'll try. But I just want to say there were no glaring errors. It was just those three items. But again, they're trying to always help improve us on our processes, and I'm grateful for that. I'm also grateful for all the staff that I have the privilege of working with, because they work to make sure that we are in the situation that we're in. This isn't my, this isn't just because of me, it's because of all of us working together and trying to work as a team and making sure that we don't have any issues with the audit. I also wanted to say that we submit our annual comprehensive financial report to the GFOA, Government Finance Officers Association. They do a certificate of achievement for excellence in financial reporting, and we've received that now for about 8 years. So I'm submitting it again this year with the hope of doing that. And that's all my comments. Do any of you have any questions for me?
Feel free to take the fifth on this. Reading through all of this, what you had at your meeting, I sometimes get a sense, are municipalities actually over-regulating in terms of all the things we have to comply with?
I think having to comply with all this stuff from the Governmental Accounting Standards Board is a lot. Because even if you look at the financials, you would think that I have a different sets of financials, and so if I want it to look like this, I present this financial. So there's government-wide where we have GASB 34, we have to account for infrastructure and do the value of our streets and our, all this kind of stuff. And to me, it's why do we want to put values on our streets and all this kind of stuff? And you don't need that unless you're going out to issue debt. So we have to do that, and then we have to do all these other things. And then there's something that I'm also having to do that's due next year called compensated absences. And so it's all this extra little stuff that you have to do on the side that I don't know that really adds value to the whole thing. I think if we just did our basic financials, it would do and paint the picture of what we need, just using the fund financial report that we have in here, and just do the budget to actuals and all of that, and I think that's all we need.
I think the answer is yes.
Yes. Sorry, that was a long answer.
No, that's right, and obviously you don't have to, you and your team do a great job. Alderman Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Jolly, I noticed last year when we prefaced it, when we had our retreat last year, we discussed the financial situation and the statements that you described to us last year in great detail. One of the things that came out of that was that our business license fees were rather high. And we could see that graphed at that time. And I think that it was the mayor's suggestion at the time, we take a look and see, does that look appropriate compared to the nearby cities? And in this year's introductory notes, you've got in there that the license fees appear to be set appropriately. And I thought, oh, well then you must have come to some conclusion on that. What do you think?
Well, my concern is depending on who you're comparing against, but I think yes, to a degree. But my concern also is the fact that we do business licenses based on gross receipts as well as square footage. And my concern with the square footage particularly is that many businesses are decreasing the size of square footage. And then that's where our challenge lies. And so I don't know if we would need to consider a different option or not. And then Bob or Brian want to insert any opinions?
Yeah, Ryan actually did quite a bit of research into those and some comparables, and some were on track, some seemed to be higher based on some of the smaller businesses and the larger businesses. I think
Larger retail, I think
and
we're
the
on the
re-
high end.
Yeah, and the retail. So I think it always warrants keeping a close eye on, and if we start to see any trends that we want to address, we'll have to bring that to the board's attention.
Okay. All right, very good, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, moving on to unfinished business. First, for the record, please note that the zoning text amendment and rezoning / preliminary site development plan items for the Woodsville Crossing development at 14302 South Otter 40 Road have been withdrawn. Just for the public record. Next, we have one bill under unfinished business, bill number 24-35, board as a whole without objection. Will the city clerk read the bill for the second time?
Substitute Bill number 2435 is an ordinance approving a planned residential community development to be known as Deer Hollow subdivision and approving a preliminary site development plan, preliminary plat with regulations, conditions, and restrictions. Mayor, I'll also be entering the formal continuance request received from the applicant into the record that was distributed to the board last week and included in the packet. And as a reminder, that request is for the board to continue this item to August 12th.
Thank you. I see a motion and second for the continuance.
So moved.
Second.
And we can do this orally. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
See, pass unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to new business, resolution number R09-2024, a resolution canceling a scheduled Board of Aldermen meeting. I seek a motion and second to approve.
So moved.
Any discussion or amendment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Good. Next, bill number 24-36, without objection, I think the sponsor would probably be Alderman Allen Murphy. Without objection, will the city clerk read the bill for the first time?
Bill number 2436 is an ordinance approving an easement vacation plat for adjusted lot 1 of Medley Estates subdivision in the city of Town and Country.
Thank you. Bill number 24-36 is continued to be to Monday, August 12th, 2024, for the second reading and consideration. Next, an approval of a purchase order to Motorola Solutions for 4 portable radios in the amount of $23,379.12. I seek a motion and second to approve.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion or amendment on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carries unanimously. Next is approval of a purchase order to Compass Minerals for bulk salt in the amount of $61,187. Seek a motion and second to approve.
Second.
Under discussion, Michael, how much salt is that?
We plan to order 600 tons, sir.
Okay. How many did we use last winter? Do you remember? Or you made up a number?
It was about 600. It was close.
Was it? Okay, all right. Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. I do not have other business, but I will open up to the alderman who has anything they want to bring up that's not on the agenda.
Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry. This is just a follow-up to Bob's comment about Mason being closed. I think if anybody wants to see, and not that I want a lot of traffic on our street, but if anybody wants to see their MSD Clean Water dollars at work, our street is torn up right now with the almost $2 million MSD Clean Water project. And just to go by to see the size of the, oh my gosh, we never would have guessed. And yeah, they're huge. So if anyone wants to see your tax dollars at work, politely drive down our street, come take a look, but it's pretty amazing. And Chief, I don't know how you guys are getting by that, but it's pretty interesting. And I don't know if you, any patrol reports, but it kind of created this faithful road over our neighbors. It's kind of, it's kind of interesting, right, for trucks. Anyway, thank you, Mayor.
Ashley has kind of noted to me that I didn't actually get a vote, I believe, on the warrant list.
Yeah, we'll need a first and a second to approve the warrant list of $463,713.68.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion on that? Alderman Allen?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Shelton and I talked earlier today about two separate areas. If you would present the comment about going back to a little more clarity, and then also the water services at Preservation Park.
Correct. So Alderman Allen had brought up a concern about under card services. We're going through a process of double entry because we're already creating one document, and these are all of our credit card detail expenses. So what started transpiring on the warrant list was a more generalized description. And what we are going to start doing is in the Friday update before the board meeting, actually giving you the spreadsheet of all those credit card expenses. Now, just so everybody knows, any credit card expense gets approved, has to be approved by the department director, then signed off by the finance department, and then I have to review it, and in my absence, Ashley reviews it. So it's getting a thorough vetting, but the descriptions got a little bit general for what you all received, and we will get that corrected in a attachment to your Friday update prior to the meeting. And then
Probably put on the public record multiple times, but I'll do it one more time. None of the members of the board of aldermen or the mayor have one of those credit cards.
Right, excellent point, excellent point. And go ahead.
My thought was, though, people talk about what do we spend our money on? And these aren't nickel and dimes, but these are not enormous amounts, but they add up. And I think it helps to be able to say, okay, I don't know how many pairs of boots we use, but all of the expenses that come out, sometimes you could just pull out a couple things that people just take for granted. And I just think it helps to be able to have some idea.
The more transparent, the better. That's fine. No, I'm totally on board with that. Totally on board.
And then the other item was the water bill at Preservation Park. And I don't know if you've had a chance to look into that. And I'll go ahead and let Ann.
So Alderman Allen, this was a very good catch.
Oh, good.
If you look at the list for Missouri American Water, you'll see that very last charge is $115, which is fantastically low compared to the others. That is the May service. And if you remember, we had a very wet May, and so we didn't have any irrigation running. We started up irrigation in June, and those are the charges for Town Square that you see in Preservation Park. We had a broken line at Drace Park, and so we didn't have full irrigation running there. So it's not that preservation is high, it's that Drace is low.
Okay, and my question is, as always, my concern keeps coming back, and those who have had to hear me harp on this numerous times. It seems like we have a lot of recurring costs going to Preservation Park for maintenance of bathrooms and delivering or emptying trash and all those things. And I know the mayor said some people like to use the tennis courts, but I don't understand why we have to do a lot of irrigating there. You don't have to irrigate the tennis courts or the bathrooms, so why do we spend monies on keeping the grass green? I mean, it's pretty, but.
I mean, there is that walking path around that field, and that's what we're irrigating. Isn't that basically right?
It is the area in front of, between the parking lot and the tennis courts, and between the parking lot, the restrooms, and the pavilion. So it's to keep that small area of grass green.
I think it should be green.
If the board directs me to turn the irrigation off, I will do so.
Honestly, I would, and for that, I mean, I know your point is, but I will tell you, I can tell you don't fill a pool very often, but those numbers aren't that outrageous. But, I mean, I'd hate something to come to our city and see everything's just burned out. I mean, I don't think that's a very good one for our city, frankly. So for those kind of dollars, I think, for that area, I think it's a reasonable expense. I really do, but I think it's very reasonable to discuss it.
And it's not just the green grass, to me, it's the whole amount of expense that goes to preservation.
I tell you what, even that, why don't we maybe put on our agenda item for the retreat, the future of Preservation Park, and let's talk about it, okay? It's a reasonable thing to put on.
That's good.
Thank you, Mayor.
Sure. Alderman Hughes.
Okay, thanks, Mayor. On page 1, the 3 dead deer, you know me, I always ask where were they removed?
14222 Manderley Woods, 2306 Mueller Lane,
Okay,
and Clayton Road just east of Summer Hill.
okay, thank you. Okay,
Feel better too, guys, from
I think that's probably all vehicle accidents, my guys.
okay, on page 4, we're looking at Drace Park Pavilion Replacement Project, $39,716.40. Are we gonna do a rededication for that pavilion?
I would imagine we would, Ann, right? Yeah.
I think it would be a nice idea to do that. Okay,
Food
for thought.
Thank you.
thank you.
Are we gonna have it naming pavilions after citizens that have done a tremendous effort on behalf of the city?
So the short answer is no, the longer answer is we can talk about that at the retreat also.
Well, we just mentioned a man. who
Yeah,
made a
no,
city-
that's not unreasonable.
Then you guys start remembering our local heroes.
Yeah. No, I think we'll put that on the agenda. Sounds good.
Thank you, man.
I now seek a motion and second to adjourn.
I'm sorry, hold on. We need to take a voice vote on the warrant list. Now the discussion is over.
Oh, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you. Now I will seek a motion and second to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Nice to meet you. Very good. Thank you. Thank you.